Hi all, I'm Maria Dominic. Today we are discussing OOP concept in PHP. How we are going to implement OOP concept in PHP. So our topic is mainly classes in PHP. So in this presentation, we are covering classes and object, constructor and destructor, access modifiers, inheritance, and all other things. So what is OOP concept? What is the difference between procedure programming and object-oriented programming? So in procedure programming, we are using functions or procedures to perform operations on data, while in object-oriented programming, we are creating object. So how we can implement those procedure-oriented programming properties to the PHP? We can implement using polymorphism, abstraction, encapsulation, classes, inheritance, and objects. So, what is the advantages of using OOP concept? OOP is very faster and easier to execute. OOP provides a clear structure for the program, and OOP helps to keep the PHP code dry, don't repeat yourself, and makes the code easier to maintain, modify, and debug. OOP makes it possible to create full reusable applications with less code and shorter development time. So our topic, classes. So what is classes and objects? Classes and object. Class is the template for the object and the object is the instance of the class. So for example, let's take fruit as class. So there are different varieties of fruits. Let's take apple, banana, orange, grapes. There are different types of fruits and all those foods, all those instances are of the fruit. So the same is applying here also, and a class contains some properties or some functions which define that object, and each object have its own properties and methods defined in the class. We can create a class using a class keyword, and we can create an object for each classes, or we can create as many objects as we wanted using the new keyword. Here is an example. We have defined a class named book, and that book contains two functions, namely name and price. For the name function is for printing all book name, and the function price is for echo the price of that particular book. And we have created a object for that class book, which is dollar object. Using that object, we can call or we can access the function name and the price accordingly. So what is constructor and destructor? Constructor and destructor are work same as in any other programming language, as in like Python, Java, or any other programming language. It's mainly a constructor is used for initialize an object uh, properties upon the creation of the class object. So when we create an object, the constructor will automatically invoke, and it will help to initialize the properties of the object. So we can create a constructor using construct double underscore construct method. So double underscore construct is be using for create a constructor. So constructor are called when the object is created from a class. Whenever an object is created, the constructor function will called. Destructor in the opposite way, it will called when the script or the entire script is stopped or exited. So in other words, when an object is destructed, the destructor method will call. We can create a destructor by using double underscore destruct method. So here is an example. Let me take this example which uses the idea of constructor and the destructor on the same program. So the class house have some properties, name and color, and it will have a function constructor which will invoke when the object is created. And the public function destruct is the destructor which will invoke when the entire function is entire script is executed, or when the object is destructed. So the next topic is access modifier, which is very helpful to implement visibility to our properties and our methods in the program. So there are mainly three access modifier, which is private, public, and protected. As the name indicates, private methods or variables is accessible only within the class. It is private to that particular class, which is belong to that class. It is like a local variable, local scope. We know that a function has a variable which is a local variable, and it can only belong to that function. We cannot access that from outside of the function. The same idea is implemented here also. That private variable is not accessible outside of the class, which is accessible only within that class. On the opposite, private variable or private function is accessible from everywhere. It can be accessed within the class or outside of the class. And in the middle of that, protected variables or protected visibility is also there, which is used for access a method or property within the class, and also from the classes which is inherited. So a protected access modifier or protected variable or method can be accessed by the class declaring it and by the classes that inherit the above declared class. So in this picture, uh, there is a baby inside the class house, and there is a child playing on the ground, and there is a child outside that house or the ground. So let's take this child. He is outside, which is he is publicly visible to everyone. This person or this child can be visible by uh, everyone. It can be visible from the house or it can be visible from the ground. Okay. On the contradiction, this child is inside that house. He is secure in that house. That child cannot be visible from the outside. That child is belong to that house and it is protected there. So the accessibility to that child, the accessibility to that particular child is limited. And this child is playing on the ground, playing in the ground, and he is accessible, um, and he is protected from the class, and also he is playing on the ground, which means that ground is also a part of class. The property, the idea of inheritance, which means some classes is inherited from other classes, which means that class can have some properties or have some features of the previous or the inherited class. So the same idea is implemented here also. That child is belong to the class, and also it have, and it is it's also its visibility is also limited, but not as same as the private variable. So here is the definition and some basic difference between public, private, protected. Visibility. A public property or method can be declared using a public keyword, and a private property or method can be declared using a private method. As in the same way, a protected property or method can be declared using a protect keyword. So if we declare a function or a function or a method without any specified access modifier, it will be automatically public. But not this. Properties cannot be declared using it without a visibility. So we must always declare the properties with the access modifier. And private visibility means the private class member can only be accessed from the methods in the class, which is belong to that class. Protected visibility. Who can access a protect properties or methods? The class which declare the variables and the class which inherit the above declared classes. Here is an example. We have a class called user, and here we have a variable called $name and a function called change name. Here the access modifier or the visibility is public, which means that the $name is publicly declared and the function also is public. So this function can be accessed outside of the class when we create the user, which is the object of the particular class user, and that using that object we can call the name, and we can call the function change name, and we can also access the dollar name property outside of the class. It will give an output. But in the case of this example, see that the name, the variable name is declared as private. So we cannot use or we cannot access this property outside of the class. So when we try to access that property outside of the class, we will get an error. But the function is publicly declared, so it can be accessed outside of the class. And this is how we can declare a property or a method as protected using the protected keyword. So the class example shows us how we can declare a function or a property or a variable as protected, which is accessible within the class and also from the inherited class. So we have used the term inheritance in many of the slides we learned. So what is inheritance? It's like some properties or some methods, some features are inheriting from the parent, and that can be accessed within the child class. It's like a parent child relationship. Means that child has some properties, some features, like the hair color, the eye color of the parent is inherited to the child most of the case. And the same idea is also implemented here, which is the properties and methods of the parent class is accessible by the child class. Here, the child class can inherit the parent method and give its own implementation. This property is called the overridden method. So let's take an example. Here is a class name book, and it has a function set name, and we have defined the function in the parent class. Also, the child class can access, or the child class can uses that function in that particular child class, and it can give its own implementation. This is overridden method. Okay, and when the child class uses the same function as defined in the parent class, we can call this as a inheritance method. There are mainly two types of inheritance, which is single level inheritance and multi-level inheritance. Single level inheritance, exactly like a parent-child relationship. There is a parent and there is a child. So some properties and some behaviors and some features are inherited from the child, inherited from the parent to the child. So single level inheritance, inheriting from the parent class to the child class. Multi-level inheritance means there is an intermediate classes in between the parent class and child class. So the intermediate class inherited from the parent class, and that intermediate class is inherited to the child class. So this is a single level inheritance. So there is a parent class and there is a child class. Multi-level inheritance means we can demonstrate this as grandparent child relationship. So let's take A as grandparent, B as parent, and C as child um, relationship. Okay, so A has some properties, A has some features, methods, behaviors, and the B can inherited that properties, which means we can access, we can use that properties, all the properties and functions of that class A. And C can uses the properties and the behaviors of B along with the properties and behaviors of the class A. So C can inherit all the properties of A along with B. Here is an example of single inheritance and multi-level inheritance. So single inheritance means there will be only two classes, which are class A and class B, and the class B is inheriting from class A. So how we can implement inheritance in PHP? We can inherit using extend keyword. When we want to inherit some properties or functions from another class, we can inherit that using the extend keyword. And like class B extend A, which means the class B can access, which can uses the properties and functions of the class A, which can access the print item and print PHP. So basically we don't have to create an object for the class A, since we can uses the object of the class B to access the or to call the functions of the class A. But in this example we have created an object for each classes for class A and class B. So using that object we can call the functions of the respective classes. Multi-level inheritance means in this class C is extended from B, which is extended from class A. There is an function called my history. Okay, the class C have its own function named grandson age, and it have a function called my history. So in class A, in this function we have called my age, my son, and my grandson. My age is a function of class A, and my age son age is a function of class B. So in this class C we have used all the functions named my son age and my age, and using an object of class C we have used the properties of that each classes. Okay, so look at here, we have created an object of class C, and then we call the my history, which is a class of class C, and in this function we have called the other three functions. So using that object of the class C we are using the functions. In this example we have created respective object for each classes, and we call using that object. So other two topic is abstract class and interface. So when we talk about the OOP concept, we have discussed polymorphism, abstraction, things like that. So how we can implement abstraction in PHP. Abstraction means we are hiding the information. We are hiding sensitive informations, or we are hiding all other information from the outside. That means the user is only can see the information which is needed, or other unnecessary or unwanted information is hidden. So abstract class means abstract class is defined using the abstract keyword, and an abstract class is a class at least having an abstract method. So what is abstract method? Abstract method is nothing but we are declaring a method. We don't give any implementation, or we don't give any definition for that function. And the child class is responsible for giving the definition or the task for that particular task. And the child class must give an implementation for that function. And what is interface? Interface allow you to specify what method a class should implement. Interface make it easy to use a variety of different classes in the same way, which when one or more classes uses the same interface, it is referred to polymorphism. So polymorphism can be achieved using the interface, and other ways of achieving or implementing polymorphism is function overloading and method or operator overloading, which means the same function can be implemented using different situations, or we can give different implementation for the same named functions. Or for example, plus operator, we can use that plus operator for the operation addition, and also for string concatenation, which is operator overloaded. We can create, or we can declare an interface using the interface keyword, and we can use an interface in each class by using implemented keyword. So this is all about the presentation. Thank you for watching.